Hello and welcome to Those Projects. Today we're going to be redoing our control board because, well, it does this. And it's starting to crack in this place, and I thought I might as well make it neat this time because the first time I did this it was sort of just, I threw one piece on individually. So let's get to it. So the first thing we need to do before we actually take off the control board is we have to disconnect all the wires. So the first thing is a battery, and make sure it's turned off. Alright, so we have the battery disconnected. Then we need to make sure that pretty much all the wires on both the front and the back are disconnected. Which that also includes the motor phase wires, which means that, well, I'm gonna have to do a lot of tape removal. So I'm just gonna speed through that. Alright, so I now have all the wires disconnected from the board itself. And now we're gonna just take it off, and I'm gonna show you the reason why I've finally decided to give this thing a facelift. So like with most of this project, the two holes that mount this thing on here are just random holes that I drilled, so I'm gonna have to replicate that on the new sheet, or on the new slab of acrylic. So this, and now, we should be able to just... Okay, I'm gonna get that close up just because I know it's currently on manual focus. So as you can see, like right here, it just snapped in total. I mean, like, look at that. The thing is literally just snapped apart, and that's because somebody decided to think it would be funny to knock it over. So the only things that were literally holding this on was the switch, just because it was bolting those two pieces together, and the vest, which, as you can see, is also holding it on just like a little bit. And so, yeah, so that's why this thing is being replaced, because it literally is just falling apart. Yeah, that shouldn't be doing that. So yeah, I'm gonna replace it, and I'm also gonna add some reinforcements to it on the bike. But it's a very rare sight actually being able to see my bike without the control panel on there, because the control panel has almost always been on there. So let's now get to taking just the pieces off, and yeah. Now that we have all the parts off and de-glued, we're just going to make a basic guess of where we want to actually put the parts. And we're going to do that by just tracing them out. Because then what we're going to do is make it so that we can actually 3D print the things to hold them on. Oh, and I forgot to label that. So, we have these big open spots here. Now, I would like to do some sort, alright. I would like to do some sort of lighting. The only thing it was, and these were perfectly fine. The only thing is though, I don't have 12 volt lighting. I currently have 24 volt lighting. That's just like as such spare stuff hanging around. But I will save this line and this thing, just because I do have some, or I could always just buy some more spare stuff, and I don't know, you could always use this for something. I mean, just look at the backlit panel. But, I mean, this leaves a lot of free room. I do still have some 12 volt relays that I could technically throw on here if I wanted to, but I think what I'm going to do for my design is, which I can actually draw it on here, is we're going to have the base plate. And then, from the base plate, we're going to have all of our components. Then our shield is going to be pretty much a semicircle. Now obviously this is not to scale in the slightest. It would be more of something like this, and then we have a little bit of the stuff on the inside, but it's going to be a shell. I plan to print it in white or glow in the dark. I know it'll look a bit weird, but I know for a fact I have that filament on hand, and I have 2 rolls of it, which should be more than enough. And there's probably going to be a cutout around here so that you can get access to the switch, just because, I don't know, I'm going to want to have access to it, and to actually fixture it to the thing. I plan to have it screwed in, so I'll probably have it screwed in pieces. It depends on how many pieces. It looks like it's gonna be maybe 5 or 6 pieces. And yeah, because again, the ideal with this thing, which is the reason why I had the garbage bag, is so that I can remove the wires and deal with the stuff as necessary. Which is why, if you look on here, I need to disconnect the 12-volt system because something's shorting. And then all I need to do is just pop, pop, done. 12-volt system saved. So, I mean, it looks sort of like the plan of what we're gonna do. Because over here, this still leaves us freedom, and we're still gonna keep this open, and thankfully, nothing's really gonna be as thick as, I don't know. Actually, nothing's gonna be as thick as this plus the casing on it. Because what originally ended up happening was this was just held in by glue, and it would pop out because it's just nice, smooth metal. But since this is a really easy shape to design a shelf for, it's pretty much gonna be here, and then we're gonna have a little shell over it. Actually, you know what? I think that means that I should maybe move it in just a tiny bit more. So let's actually erase that then. See, this is why I'm not just gluing it instantly right now, and I'm taking more than a day to do this. And the thing is, this isn't gonna be the thing that fully holds it in. There will be some amount of glue. It's just that I want something that will sort of be immune to the, what do you call it? Immune to just cold. And so there's probably gonna be a nice shield that goes around it. And then I'll probably give it like a thin edge over here just so I can have some nice layer over there. Because realistically, I shouldn't need access to it, and all I'll do is I'll just ride around with a, what do you call it? A screwdriver, which I already do for my bike. So, now we have where we want to actually put the parts. We have the parts all ready to be moved around. Now, we need to plan what exactly do we need to 3D print, or at least just get ready for us to have a working model. So in other words, we're not gonna have the shell done, but we want anything that's gonna be holding down any components. So from looking at what I've taken apart, we need about 3 to 4 things. So the first thing is a cover for the top of the motor thing, the motor phase wires. Now, the only reason why I say we technically don't need it is because the fact that I do still have it, I just left it at home with the stuff that actually goes here. Now, the 3 things that do need some sort of housing, or at least just to make it so it's not just straight glued to the board. The first thing is the vest, which I plan to just make a very simple over-the-top shielding with a window on here just so I can place the, just so I can connect the throttle to this thing, which should be fairly easy to do. And this is more of just, not necessarily to keep it stuck on the thing, but more of in place. Like it can jiggle around a little bit, I just don't want it to pop off out of the glue and send itself flying, which could almost happen, which might have almost happened. The next thing is the breakout board. I'm just gonna 3D print just a little base for it, just so that it's just not only glue. I mean, it's very light, it won't move around, but giving this thing a little base to work on should be pretty easy. And also, since it does have pilot holes in here, it should make it fairly, easy to do. And then the last thing is a case for the air tag, and the reason why we're doing it for the air tag is just so it makes it harder for someone just to remove it. I mean, granted, they could just rip off the control board, but at that point, you're taking the most expensive parts of the thing already just to take the bike. So. Alright, so it is day 2, and we're working in a bit of a different location this time. And yeah, now while transporting it, pretty much all of the markings just wiped off. So I'm going to both use the expert marker just to throw it on there, but I'm also going to use this punch, which will make some really nice holes and also allow me to make some pilot holes for, will it? Maybe not, but it'll allow me to, what do you call it, actually start getting this close. We're not going to be doing the laser engraving stuff only because, well, we don't have access to that machine currently, and yeah, so we're just sort of going to wing it like we did last time, but we're still going to follow the paths that we have down. And so, 2 things I 3D printed yesterday, which were the standoffs for the breakout control panel. Absolutely perfect. And then the one for the, what do you call it, the vest, which I accidentally undershot a little bit while printing it. I'll put a photo. But I still should be able to use it by gluing it, so it'll be good. It'll be more of just a extra little safety thing on there to keep it on there, because the metal it'll probably slip off of, but the plastic it'll have a lot more of a hold to it. So I'm going to just, yeah, like I said, remark this stuff so that I can get ready to start gluing. Alright, so we have everything marked, and now we're just going to start the gluing process. Now there are some people in the workshop, so it's just going to be a time lapse with no sound. So, alright, let's get to it. So now that we have all the stuff on here, instead of doing a wiring diagram, because that's going to be really complicated, we're just going to start to throw this stuff together. And thankfully, since I made the thing, I know where all the wires need to go, and I also know what contacts and stuff need to be where. So let's get to that. Alright, so we finally finished the wiring. Now, I did put some tape over it, but the plan was sort of followed to a certain degree, and now we're going to turn it on and see if it works. I am happy though. I was able to find 3 random nuts to fit the motor mount, and then I decided to just put some extensions temporarily so that I could use that back row for the backlights. So yeah, and also I was able to realize that I can put a relay for the flashers here, because now I'm just doing it manually. Alright, so let's see. Okay, so let's just see if the wheel moves. Okay, we're all good on that. Obviously now the brake light works. Let's see high beams and runner light. Good, so we have that working. Let's see left indicator, or right indicator. No, left indicator. Good, right indicator. Good. Now let's see, can I do multiple at once? Alright, and now, last but certainly not least, the horn. Alright, we are done. It is, yeah, and it looks a lot nicer. So now all I need to do is just design a frame that's just going to be able to fit, or a shell that's going to be able to fit over all this. But honestly, we followed what we wanted to do pretty well. So as per usual, this video took a bit longer to film than I would realize, but overall it's 100% a success. It's exactly what I wanted. Like, there's literally nothing wrong with it. And yeah, I had a very interesting week. And yeah, it was very interesting. So I'm gonna actually get a person from Spain to go and give their ideas on how good this thing is. And apparently they used to drive for an F1 team. Alright, so what do you think of the bike?
A ver, es una puta mierda, la verdad. O sea, puedes ver que parece que está hecha por un vagabundo, todos los putos cables así, fatal. O sea, es que da muchísimo asco. Además, está en el momento en el que pilla un poco de, yo que sé, agua o lo que sea, es que va a explotar. Es que es una mierda, está fatal construida.
Okay, that's a lot of words to say good. So, thank you. Thank you.
De nada. Es una puta mierda, que asco, joder. Cago en su puta madre.
So, we're finally at the end of the video. I'm gonna have some B-roll of me riding this. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. This was a really interesting weekend. I'm happy that I had a project to take my mind off of the stuff that was happening. And yeah, I will see you next Monday, 8 a.m. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll post an update of when I make the actual shell for this thing. So, alright, have a good one.